Industry plant is a term that's been around for some time, but recently it's had a resurgence during the tail end of the SoundCloud rapper era. These record labels are desperate to generate some cash, hence all the layoffs, plus UMG removed their entire catalog off of TikTok recently. With the rise of artists such as XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD, and Lil Pump, record labels began foaming at the mouth. They thought all you needed to do to find success is put a bunch of tats on someone's face and produce some emo rap, then boom, here comes the millions. What these suits fail to realize is whether you like their music or not, there was a certain level of authenticity to artists such as Lil Peep, Trippie Redd, and Lil Uzi Vert. That's why some of them still have a music career today. Doesn't matter though, money blinds fools, and that's how we got artists such as Icy Narco, Jumex, and Baby Goth, all responsible for producing some of the worst music known to man. Their awful discographies have slowly but surely warped the perception of what an industry plant is. These days when you hear the word industry plant, people don't just think about an artist with an unexplainable rise, but they also think about the manufactured image and poor music quality that comes with it. Need I remind you, the true definition of the word is, industry plant is a derogatory term for an artist who becomes popular through wealth, nepotism, inheritance, or connections in the music industry rather than their own merits. Honestly, if you think about it, people hate industry plants because they often lack the talent and they're occupying a slot that should be for someone who has an authentic come-up story and the talent to match. Essentially, industry plants are like the hip-hop version of they took your jobs. That brings us to the topic of today's video, Forbats, aka music's most polarizing industry plant. I'm gonna get to why he's such a polarizing industry plant, but first allow me to touch on his music and paint a picture explaining why so many assume him to be an industry plant. So first let's touch on why so many people think he's an industry plant. It's a lot of reasons, and some you might have heard, and some you might be hearing for the first time in this video, as I haven't seen anyone say what I'm about to say today. The first reason is, where did this guy come from? At the time of this recording, Forbats averages 14 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but he only has 4 songs, one of which is a remix with Drake. That remix from Drake makes things even more suspicious. The Drake stimulus package is hard to come by, yet this guy with no track record got it no problem. If you go to his YouTube page, it's the same thing. 4 videos, and they all have millions of views. What makes his videos suspicious is how calculated and well shot they are. Often if you go back into an artist's catalog, their first few videos and songs aren't the best. So when Forbats first popped off, it wasn't the quality of the songs and the videos that was the issue. The issue came when fans wanted to do a deep dive and they couldn't. People love to pull up older material and witness the growth of their favorite artist. It makes them feel good and it makes them better relate to whoever they're listening to. But his videos, they're just too well put together. You can't find anything old. It just almost feels as if a machine is backing him. Reason number 2, if you Google this guy, there's no information about him. We live in a day and age where Aiden Pierce's Watch Dogs is real. You can find anything on anybody if you really wanted to, so it's suspicious when people can't. It's almost as if the powers to be paid someone to do an online scrub before they decided to drop his music. Once again, people are Googling this guy to learn more about his story, but you can't find anything, and Google knows everything. Me personally, I'm Googling this guy because I'm looking for an explanation on what the fuck is a Forbats. Does that mean he's like 4 times more powerful than Bruce Wayne?
I've never seen you laugh before. I don't think I like it.
There's so little info on Forbats that when I asked Meta's AI to explain to me who Forbats is and what's their come up story, the AI didn't even know who that was. This is insane, seeing as unlike chatbot GPT's AI, Meta's AI is connected to the internet via Bing search engine. So yeah, it may not know who Mr. Bats is, but it did remind me that Bing still sucks. Reason number 3, Forbats also has the support of industry veterans. I'm not just talking about that remix from Drake either. He got a shout out from Kanye West. See, back in February 2024, the paparazzi asked Kanye who his favorite artist was, and he said,
"Any artists out there that impress you right now that are coming up?"
Forbats.
Oh, that's who it is, huh? Okay.
The problem is that Mr. Bats only had 2 songs at the time, one of which wasn't even on his channel. It's where he originally popped off with that little street thing that he did. And also he wasn't popping as hard as he is now. So how the hell did Kanye know who the fuck Forbats was? It seems like the Illuminati called in a favor from Mr. West. Reason number 4, going back to visibility, not only can you not find his story on Google, but you can't find a single interview or live performance online from this guy. Some people just don't like doing interviews, I get it, so I'm gonna give him some leeway on that, but the live performance part is crazy to me. As an artist on the rise, you often have to dominate your local scene before everyone knows your name. Nobody has a video of this dude doing an open mic, a performance at the schools, the ball. Nobody knows him from the school days. And this is especially suspicious because breaking a new R&B artist in this hip-hop dominated world can be really tough this day and age. And that leads me to my fifth and final reason people think he's an industry plant. Everything is just too perfect. You can be good, but not perfect. I mean, how many times have we seen an artist rise, but then they mess up somewhere? It might be an awkward interview, not the strongest live performer, or maybe they're just too negative on social media. These are people, and people mess up, especially when you're new to stardom. This guy is just too good, almost as if he had a team full of industry veterans backing him. Recently, a tweet hit my For You page where this man accused Mr. Bat's manager of being the creative director over at RCA Records. During a conversation thread, someone proclaimed Bats went 3 for 3 on songs, and a Twitter user by the name of Caparus replies by saying, "Except that's not what happened here. 4Bats' manager is a creative director for RCA Records with major connections. He had the plug before he ever released a song. It's not like he dropped a song and TikTok made him go viral. He was conjured up knowing that he would go viral." So then this guy Brian replies by saying, a few clarifications, buddy. 4Bats' manager does have connections, which, you know, he does basically confirm he's an industry plant. But a well-connected manager doesn't guarantee success. Finding a manager who believes in you isn't a hack, it's a blessing. Going viral's not a game plan. Virality's unpredictable. You can conjure up shit. And what Brian said is true. Being well-connected doesn't guarantee success. A perfect example is the rapper Sweetie. She's what many would deem to be an industry plant because she's openly talked in interviews about how a lot of her family is involved in the music industry. She grew up around it, yet nobody cares about her music. I think what Brian is missing is that two things can be true at the same time. Yes, benefiting from connections doesn't guarantee success, but it does make it a whole lot easier. I hate to do this, but Sweetie is a perfect example. She had all the connections in the world to move to the front of the line, but if she had to get it out the mud like the average person, most would argue nobody would know her name because her music is god-awful.
I'm an icy girl in an icy world.
I can give you another example. Let's go to sports. LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny, yeah, he averages 4 points a game in college right now, for those of you unaware. If that was anybody else's son, we wouldn't even be having a conversation for the NBA draft boards, but because his dad said he'll play for any team that drafts him, it changes things. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong, but it does change things, and it's important to acknowledge that. You can complain all you want, but some people are just not gonna respect people who didn't work hard, and it doesn't matter how talented they are. But I can't expect Brian to understand that, because if we check Brian's Twitter profile, in his bio, it clearly states he's the co-founder of AudioMac. He's an industry insider. Of course he's gonna defend the industry plant. So instead, allow me to redirect your attention to why I think 4Bats is such a polarizing industry plant. It goes back to what I just said a moment ago. You can complain all you want, but some people are just not gonna respect people who didn't work hard, and it doesn't matter how talented they are. What makes Bats polarizing is that he is talented to some degree. His music is not horrible, so I think people feel conflicted about him. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'd categorize his music as if I gave you the aux cord and you put him on, I wouldn't demand that you switch the song, but he's definitely not on my playlist. He's basically Brent Faiyaz Jr. He's for the people who've never heard a Brent song, so it sounds mind-blowing, but he's nowhere near as good as Brent. What he does do better than Brent, at least at the moment, is the marketing. 4Bats' team is a marketing genius to those who are not critical thinkers. Everything they've done is by design, and it's to appeal to people who are constantly in search for their next fake deep Instagram caption. Just look at the song titles. Act 2, Dated 8, Act 1, Stickers 99, and Act 3, On God, She Like. It barely makes sense, but it makes just enough sense that the fake deep social media people will eat it up. To complement things is his image. His image is the main reason that he blew up, in my opinion. There's a science behind this, and I'm gonna explain it to y'all using comedy. See, my theory on this is why, for once, I agree with the internet, and I believe there's a high probability he is an industry plant. See, growing up the funny kid, one of the things that I always hated hearing is when people would comment on how surprised they were that I was intelligent. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized the average person associates comedy with only one form of it known as slapstick comedy. This was first made popular by the Three Stooges. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this type of physical comedy. It teeters more on clown energy to me, but when used correctly, it is good. I'm more into the cerebral stuff that you can find in stand-up. So I say that to say this. Another form of comedy that I consider a low-level mastery, but still a notch above physical slapstick comedy, is known as contrast comedy. The easiest way I can explain the science to you behind this is, think of like the good cop, bad cop cliche. The comedy comes from the contrast contrast and energy in the different perspectives from the two parties. Four Bats is literally the music version of that, and I'm surprised nobody has noticed. Look this man's name up on YouTube and TikTok, and you will find nothing but people doing reaction videos surprised at the way he sounds. Why? Because the machine took the thug image and gave it a soft R&B voice that you weren't expecting, which in turn delivers an emotional response. Now y'all all recording reaction videos and giving him free promo. I'd call it genius, but it's not. I personally just think Four Bats' label were watching them old when the music video doesn't match the song YouTube videos. I think they were watching them old videos and said, what if we recreated this, but we were serious? And they were able to get away with this idea because that video is from 5 years ago and the internet moves quicker than ever. People's brains are fried, so people tend to forget quickly. I seriously believe this dude's entire image is based off a joke, and if this guy does turn out to be an industry plant, it almost makes things worse because him being planted was designed to poke fun at you, the listener.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
But allow me to dial it back. I don't want anyone to think that I hate this dude. I don't even actually care about industry plants. I just made this video because this is what people are searching for according to vidIQ. I like yapping and I need some views. Also, I don't even know why so many of you are upset that he's popular. I'm not convinced he's even here to stay, so let that man have his moment. And there's two reasons I'm not convinced he's here to stay. A, he came out the gate relying heavily on a gimmick, and if it's one thing I know, anytime a gimmick is a part of your routine, eventually people will get sick of it and you're forced to up the ante with even bigger gimmicks before you crash out. The whole ski mask R&B thug thing is alluring now, but what about next year and beyond? Eventually it's gonna get corny, and that's when people are gonna start paying attention to my point B. His vocal range seems rather limited. He doesn't sound like a singer to me, more like a singer, someone like Nate Dogg or Drake. You know, that person who can hold a note, but that's about it. He's got 4 songs out and they all sound the same, so I think the jury is still out on whether or not he's gonna be here long term. And while we sit here and wait to see how things turn out, do me a favor and click the card you see on the screen to check out my previous video on Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've got some interesting thoughts on their live action adaptation that is sure to make you smash the like button. And the best part is that you won't even need 4 bats to smash that like button. You'll only need 1. But hey, I'm just saying.